The ceremonial hall fell silent when Princess Varison collapsed. Her crystalline skin flickered between violet and ashen gray, patterns dimming like dying stars. The Counselor of Rituals stumbled backward, his 6 arms trembling. Captain Theron of the Royal Guard didn't move from his post, but his 3 eyes tracked every figure in the throne room. The assembled suitors, princes from 17 systems, whispered in alarm. Queen Lysara rose from her throne, bioluminescent crown pulsing once. The whispers stopped. "Clear the hall," she said. Theron gestured to his guards. They moved like water, guiding confused dignitaries toward the exits. A young Krillian prince protested until his advisor gripped his shoulder. Within 3 minutes, only the Queen, Theron, 2 medical attendants, and the unconscious princess remained. The medical scanner hummed over Varison's body. The lead physician, Dr. Nexum, watched the holographic display with all 4 of his eyes narrowed. "Neurological rejection pattern," he said. "Same as the previous 53 suitors." "Explain it simply," Queen Lysara said. Her consciousness refuses bonding compatibility with the presented candidates. "The rejection manifests physically." Nexum deactivated the scanner. "Your Majesty, if this continues, the princess's health will deteriorate beyond recovery." "How long? 3 cycles?" Theron kept his expression neutral, but he'd served the royal family for 20 years. He knew what this meant. The interstellar concordat required the heir to bond with a suitable partner before ascending to the throne. Without an heir, their civilization seat in the concordat would pass to another species. 5,000 years of Valyrian leadership, gone. "There must be candidates we haven't considered," the Queen said. Dr. Nexum's skin flushed with uncertainty. "We've presented nobles from every major species in the concordat. The princess's biology is particular. Her consciousness seeks something we haven't identified." "Then identify it." The doctor hesitated. "There is one hypothesis. The princess's genetic markers show unusual neurological flexibility. She might be compatible with species we've dismissed as unsuitable for royal bonding." "Which species?" "The preliminary data suggests possibility in newer concordat members, species with shorter lifespans, higher emotional volatility." Dr. Nexum paused. "Humans, specifically." Theron saw the Queen's crown pulse twice, surprise then calculation. "Humans," she repeated. "They've been concordat members for barely 2 decades. Their worlds are crude. Their culture is violent and chaotic. But their neurological patterns show remarkable adaptability, and the princess did express interest in their cultural databases last cycle." The Queen turned to Theron. "Captain, your assessment of human military officers?" "Competent," Theron said. "Unpredictable. They improvise more than other species, which creates both strengths and vulnerabilities. Their emotional responses are intense but not uncontrolled. Could one function in a royal capacity? He'd fought alongside human soldiers during the Outer Rim conflicts. If properly selected, yes. They value loyalty and adapt quickly to new protocols." The Queen's pattern shifted to amber, decision approaching. Dr. Nexum, compile compatibility data for human candidates. Theron, contact their diplomatic corps. "I want options within 1 cycle." "Your Majesty," Dr. Nexum said carefully, "the Council will resist this. The Council will accept my daughter's survival over their prejudices." The Queen's voice carried absolute authority. "Dismissed." Theron escorted the medical team out, then returned to his post. The Queen stood beside her daughter's resting chamber, one hand pressed against the transparent surface. For a moment, her carefully controlled patterns flickered with something Theron had rarely seen: fear. "Theron," she said without turning, "speak freely. This will cause significant political upheaval." "I know. Some will question your fitness to rule. Let them." She turned, patterns hardening to steel gray. "I won't sacrifice my daughter for their comfort. Find me a human who can pass royal protocols. Find me someone who won't break under council scrutiny. Find me someone worthy of her. And if we can't, I've watched her reject every carefully selected suitor. She knows what she needs, even if her conscious mind doesn't understand it yet." Bowed and left for the communications center. Within the hour, an encrypted message reached Earth's Concordat embassy. By the next morning, 3 human candidates had been identified from diplomatic and military records. By evening, one had been selected for his combination of tactical intelligence, cultural education, and psychological stability. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen, Xenolinguistics specialist and decorated officer from Earth's Concordat Defense Force, received the strangest orders of his career: report to the Valyrian homeworld for immediate cultural assignment. The briefing mentioned royal protocols and high-stakes diplomacy. It didn't mention a dying princess or a desperate queen. Marcus stood in the transport bay reviewing his orders for the third time. His commanding officer, Admiral Okonkwo, watched him with knowing eyes. "You look confused, Commander. Permission to speak freely, sir?" "Granted. What the hell is this really about?" "Honestly, we don't know. But when the Valyrian Queen personally requests a human candidate for royal service, you don't ask too many questions. You just send your best." She extended her hand. "Don't embarrass us, Marcus." He shook it. "I'll try not to get us banned from the Concordat." "That's the spirit." The transport launched. Marcus watched Earth shrink behind him, wondering what kind of cultural assignment required a combat-trained xenolinguistics officer. The answer waited in a crystal palace, in a princess's failing heartbeat, in a queen's desperate gamble. The ship jumped to hyperspace, and Marcus's old life disappeared into the distance. The Valyrian homeworld looked like someone had carved a planet from opal and sapphire. Marcus pressed his hand against the viewport as the shuttle descended. Cities of living crystal grew from the landscape in impossible geometries. Bioluminescent patterns flowed through every structure, creating constantly shifting art. It was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. "First time to Valyria?" the shuttle pilot asked in accented standard. "Yes. I've studied the culture, but seeing it," Marcus shook his head. "The images don't do it justice. Wait until you see the capital." The pilot's skin pattern shifted to warm orange. Amusement. "The royal palace makes the rest look like children's drawings." Captain Theron waited with 2 guards, his formal armor reflecting the afternoon light. Marcus had seen Valyrian military officers before, but Theron's bearing suggested something beyond mere rank. Lieutenant Commander Chen. Theron's standard was perfect. "Welcome to Valyria." "I am Captain Theron, Royal Guard. Please follow me." Marcus grabbed his small bag. They'd told him everything else would be provided, and fell into step beside the captain. The guards moved silently behind them. "Permission to ask questions, sir?" "This isn't a military engagement, Commander. You may speak freely within appropriate bounds." Theron led him through corridors that seemed to grow rather than be built. "What do you wish to know?" The briefing mentioned cultural assignment and royal protocols, but that could mean anything from translation work to ceremonial guard duty. So, the color of withheld information. "You will be briefed completely once you meet Queen Lysara. For now, understand that this assignment is both urgent and politically sensitive. Your conduct will reflect on all humanity. That's comforting. It should be motivating." Theron stopped before a massive door carved with scenes Marcus recognized from Valyrian history. "The Queen values directness, intelligence, and calm under pressure. She does not value flattery, excessive deference, or emotional volatility. Present yourself honestly." The throne room beyond took Marcus's breath away. The entire ceiling was transparent crystal, showing the sky above. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that responded to movement and sound. Queen Lysara sat on a throne that seemed to grow from the floor itself, her crown projecting a soft light that filled the room with warmth. She was smaller than Marcus expected, but her presence filled the space. Her skin patterns shifted through complex sequences he couldn't begin to interpret. Her 3 eyes studied him with an intensity that made him feel like a specimen under examination. "Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen," she said. "Approach." Marcus walked forward, stopped at the appropriate distance, and performed the formal bow he'd practiced on the transport. "Your Majesty, I'm honored by this invitation. Are you—" Her patterns flickered to something that might have been amusement. "You don't know why you're here. Most humans would be curious or anxious. You appear calm. I served 2 years in the Outer Rim conflicts, Your Majesty. I learned that anxiety doesn't improve unknown situations. Calm observation does." Captain Theron spoke well of human adaptability. "Let's test that." She gestured, and a holographic display appeared between them. It showed a young Valyrian woman with extraordinary skin patterns, complex, beautiful, and currently dim with illness. "This is my daughter, Princess Varison." "She is dying." Marcus kept his expression neutral, but his mind raced. "I'm sorry to hear that, Your Majesty. She's dying because her consciousness rejects every suitor we've presented. 53 princes from 17 species. Each rejection damages her neurological systems further. Nexum estimates she has 3 cycles remaining." The Queen's patterns hardened. You are here because preliminary compatibility data suggests she might accept a human bonding partner. The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. Your Majesty, before you speak, understand the situation completely. The Queen rose, her crown pulsing with authority. This is not a romantic arrangement. This is political necessity. If Varison dies without a bonded partner, my civilization loses its concordate seat. 5,000 years of leadership, gone. But I won't force my daughter into a bond that will destroy her, so I'm attempting something unprecedented, offering her a human candidate. Marcus took a slow breath. What exactly would this involve? If the compatibility data is accurate, you would undergo the Valyrian bonding ritual with Varison. This is not marriage as humans understand it. It's a neurological connection that allows two consciousness to synchronize. Partners remain individual, but share certain emotional and cognitive experiences. The bond is permanent. And if the data is wrong, then you return to Earth with our gratitude and significant compensation, but if you're right and you refuse, the Queen's patterns shifted to something dark. My daughter dies, my people lose their position, and I will have to live knowing I identified a solution but couldn't convince a human to accept it. Theron stood silent by the wall, but Marcus saw the tension in his posture. This wasn't just political. The royal guard cared about the princess personally. Your Majesty, I need to be direct. I'm not a diplomat or a prince. I'm a soldier who studied linguistics because languages interest me. I don't know anything about being royal consort or whatever this position would be called.
You know how to learn.
You know how to adapt. You know how to maintain calm under pressure. The Queen's pattern softened slightly. More importantly, the data suggests Varison's consciousness is seeking something that traditional suitors don't possess. Human neurological patterns show emotional authenticity and creative flexibility that rigid royal breeding has eliminated from most noble lines. My daughter needs someone real, Commander. Someone who hasn't been shaped from birth to perform a role. Marcus looked at the hologram again. Varison appeared young by Valyrian standards, perhaps equivalent to a human in her mid-20s. Her patterns, even dimmed by illness, showed remarkable complexity. Intelligence and creativity radiated from even a static image. May I ask a personal question, Your Majesty? You may ask. I may not answer. What does Princess Varison want? Not what her consciousness is rejecting. What is she actually looking for? The Queen's patterns shifted through several colors before settling on deep blue. That's the right question. I don't know. She's always been different from other Valyrian nobility. She studies alien cultures obsessively. She practices combat forms despite having no military obligations. She writes poetry that makes the court uncomfortable because it's too honest. She's brilliant and kind and stubborn, and she's dying because she refuses to accept someone who doesn't meet standards she can't articulate. She sounds remarkable. She is. The Queen's voice carried weight. And I'm asking you to save her life by bonding with her consciousness, potentially forever, despite having never met her. I know this is unreasonable. Marcus stood silent for a long moment. The rational part of his mind screamed that this was insane. The emotional part remembered every time he'd felt like an outsider, among both humans and aliens, searching for something he couldn't name. The tactical part calculated outcomes and responsibilities. If I agree to try, he said carefully, what happens next? Medical examination to confirm compatibility. Cultural briefing on bonding protocols. Introduction to Varison. She's currently sedated but stable. If compatibility is confirmed and you both consent, the bonding ritual occurs within 2 cycles. The Queen studied him. You haven't agreed yet? No, Your Majesty. I'm still processing. He met her eyes directly. But I'm not saying no either. Then process quickly. Time is not our ally. Commander, I'll escort you to guest quarters. You'll have access to all relevant cultural databases and medical information. Dr. Nexum will meet with you in an hour. Marcus bowed to the Queen again. Thank you for your directness, Your Majesty. I'll have an answer soon. As Theron led him out, the Queen spoke once more. Commander Chen, if you do this, you must do it completely. Half measures will kill her as surely as rejection. The bond requires total commitment, even if that commitment begins from duty rather than affection. In the corridor, Theron's patterns shifted to something Marcus interpreted as approval. That went better than expected. How many candidates have refused? The Queen doesn't make requests she thinks will be declined. Theron paused at an intersection. The corridors are this way. I should mention that Princess Varison's personal guard will want to meet you before any decisions are made. Standard protective protocol? Lieutenant Kestara has served Varison since childhood. She views threats to the princess's well-being with extreme prejudice. Noted. I assume she'll consider me a potential threat. Almost certainly. Theron's patterns flickered to orange. Definitely amusement this time. Try not to take it personally. The guest quarters were larger than Marcus's entire apartment on Earth. The walls displayed slowly shifting landscapes from across Valera. A comprehensive cultural database waited on the room's central console. Marcus dropped his bag and immediately accessed the medical files. The data was devastating. Each suitor rejection had damaged Varison's neural pathways progressively. Her consciousness was essentially attacking itself, unable to accept incompatible bonds, but unable to survive without one. The bonding process required deep neurological synchronization, two minds aligning their fundamental patterns. Incompatibility caused both rejection pain and lasting damage. But the human compatibility projections showed something different. The flexibility and emotional range of human neurology created potential synchronization paths that rigid Valyrian noble patterns couldn't achieve. It wasn't guaranteed, but the probability was higher than any previous candidate. Marcus pulled up footage of Varison from before her illness. She moved with unconscious grace, her patterns shifting in rapid, complex sequences. In one clip, she demonstrated combat forms with precision that rivaled military specialists. In another, she debated concordat philosophy with scholars twice her age, her arguments sharp and unconventional. In a personal recording, she sat alone in what appeared to be a private garden, speaking to the camera. I know what they say about me. Too difficult. Too particular. Too strange. But I can't pretend compatibility with consciousness patterns that feel fundamentally wrong. Is it better to bond falsely and live, or reject falsely and die? I don't know anymore. I just know I'm tired of pretending. Marcus sat back, his decision crystallizing. A chime indicated a visitor. Enter, Marcus said. A Valyrian woman in military armor stepped through the door. Her patterns were aggressive red and sharp geometric shapes. 3 scars crossed her left arm, combat marks. Her 3 eyes locked onto Marcus with predatory focus. Lieutenant Kestara, she said. Princess Varison's personal guard. We need to talk, human.
Marcus stood, maintaining calm.
Of course, Lieutenant. Please sit. I'll stand. She moved closer, invading his personal space deliberately. I've reviewed your service record. Competent soldier. Decent tactical mind. No political experience. No royal training. No understanding of Valyrian culture beyond academic study. Accurate assessment. So explain why you think you're qualified to bond with a princess whose rejected princess trained from birth for exactly this role. Marcus met her stare without flinching. I don't think I'm qualified, Lieutenant. I think I'm different. Every qualified candidate has been rejected. Maybe the princess doesn't need qualified. Maybe she needs authentic. Kestara's patterns flickered. Surprise, then consideration. Authentic. You think that's enough? I think it's the variable that hasn't been tested. Marcus kept his voice level. Look, Lieutenant, I know you're protective. If someone showed up claiming they could save a person I'd protected for years, I'd be suspicious too. So here's my authentic position. I don't know if this will work, but if there's a real chance I can save Princess Varison's life, I'm willing to try. If I'm wrong, I'll accept whatever consequences come, but I won't refuse out of fear or doubt. Kestara studied him for a long moment. Her patterns shifted from aggressive red to cautious amber. The Queen chose better than I expected, but understand this, human. If you hurt Varison, physically, emotionally, politically, I will end you. Royal protocol be damned. Fair enough. Good. She moved toward the door, then paused. She's strong, you know. Stronger than the Council gives her credit for. Whatever happens, treat her like the warrior she is, not some fragile thing to be protected. I will. Nexum arrived with medical equipment. The examination took 2 hours. Neural mapping, consciousness pattern analysis, emotional response testing, biological compatibility screening. Marcus endured it all with patient calm. Finally, Dr. Nexum reviewed the results, all 4 eyes wide. This is remarkable. Not only are you compatible, but your consciousness patterns complement the princess's in ways I've never seen in bonding data. Where her patterns show rigid structure, yours show flexibility. Where yours show emotional intensity, hers show analytical depth. It's like finding 2 puzzle pieces that weren't designed together but fit perfectly anyway. So it could work? More than work? This could be an ideal bonding, the kind that appears in ancient texts but rarely in reality. Dr. Nexum's patterns shifted to excited yellow. Of course, data isn't destiny. The actual bonding requires conscious acceptance from both parties, but the foundation is there. Marcus felt the weight of the decision settling on his shoulders. I need to meet her before I commit fully. Is that possible? She's being kept sedated to prevent further rejection damage, but we can wake her for a brief period. Tomorrow morning, if you're ready. I'll be ready. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He stood by the window, watching bioluminescent patterns flow through the city below, thinking about duty and choice and the strange paths life created. He joined the military to serve humanity. He'd studied linguistics to understand others. Now he faced the possibility of permanently bonding his consciousness to an alien princess he'd never met to save her life and prevent a political catastrophe. The rational choice was to refuse. Too much unknown. Too much risk. Too much commitment. But Marcus had learned long ago that the rational choice wasn't always the right one. At dawn, Theron arrived. The princess is awake. Dr. Nexum will monitor her carefully, but you'll have approximately 30 minutes before the stress becomes dangerous. Are you ready? As ready as I'll be. They walked through quiet corridors to the medical wing. Kessitara stood outside a sealed door, her patterns tense. She nodded to Marcus without speaking. Inside, Princess Varasin lay on a biobed surrounded by monitoring equipment. Her patterns were dim but stable. As Marcus entered, her three eyes opened, focusing on him with startling intensity. You're the human, she said. Her standard was flawless but carried a musical quality Marcus found beautiful. The one they think can save me. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen, he said. And yes, apparently I'm the latest attempt. A ghost of amusement flickered through her patterns. At least you're honest about it. The last three princes tried to pretend this was romantic destiny rather than political necessity. Marcus pulled a chair beside the bed. Want me to pretend? I'd prefer you didn't. She studied him carefully. You're nervous but hiding it well. Military training? You're exhausted but forcing yourself to stay alert. Similar origins? Royal training and natural stubbornness? Her patterns brightened slightly. Genuine amusement this time. Dr. Nexum says our consciousness patterns are remarkably compatible. What do you think about that? I think data is useful but incomplete. Compatibility is theoretical until tested. You're starting to sound like you might actually be suitable. She shifted, wincing slightly. Do you understand what bonding means? Not the medical explanation, the reality of it? I'd hear your perspective. Varasin's patterns moved through several colors before settling on deep purple. Honesty, Marcus guessed. It means you'll feel my emotions as echoes in your own consciousness. It means I'll know when you're lying, when you're afraid, when you're happy. It means we'll never be truly alone again, even when we want to be. It's intimate in ways that most species can't comprehend. That sounds terrifying. It should. Bonding with incompatible consciousness is like being locked in a room with someone whose presence causes you physical pain. But bonding with compatible consciousness, she paused, pattern shifting to something softer. Ancient texts describe it as finding the part of yourself you didn't know was missing. Marcus leaned forward. What do you want, princess? Not what your mother wants, not what the Concordat requires. What do you actually want? She looked at him with something like surprise. No one's asked me that. They've asked what I need, what my duty requires, what would save my life, but not what I want. So I'm asking. Varasin closed her eyes, patterns fluctuating through rapid sequences. I want to stop feeling like I'm drowning in everyone else's expectations. I want someone who sees me as Varasin, not as the princess or the heir or the political solution. She opened her eyes, meeting his directly. I want someone real, someone who hasn't been trained from birth to perform perfection. Someone who's actually lived and failed and learned what it means to be genuine. Someone who won't treat you like you're made of crystal. Kestara told me you said something similar to her, that I should be treated like a warrior, not something fragile. You practice advanced combat forms despite no military obligation. You challenge scholars twice your age. You've rejected 53 princes because you refuse to compromise your consciousness for political convenience. Marcus smiled. You're clearly not fragile. I'm dying. There's a difference. He paused, choosing words carefully. Look, I can't promise this'll work. I can't promise we're actually compatible beyond what the data suggests, but I can promise I'll approach this honestly. No performance. No pretense. Just real. Varasin studied him in silence, her patterns shifting through complex sequences. Finally she spoke. The bonding ritual requires absolute consent from both parties, a conscious choice to open your mind to another consciousness. If we do this, there's no halfway. Either we commit completely or we don't attempt it at all. I understand. Do you? Do you really understand what you're agreeing to? Permanent neurological connection to someone from a completely different species? Someone you've known for 30 minutes? I understand it's insane. I understand every rational argument against it. But I also understand that sometimes the right choice isn't the rational one. And I understand that you deserve a chance to live without compromising who you are. Varison's patterns shifted to something Marcus couldn't interpret, multiple emotions layered together. You're either very brave or very foolish, Commander. Probably both. She laughed, a sound like crystal bells. Dr. Nexum appeared in the doorway, patterns showing concern. Princess, your stress levels are rising. We should conclude this meeting. Wait. Varison reached out, her hand stopping just short of touching Marcus's. If we do this, if we attempt the bonding, I need you to understand something. I'm not looking for someone to save me. I'm looking for someone to stand beside me. Someone who challenges me, argues with me, refuses to accept my rank as a shield against honesty. Can you do that? Marcus met her eyes. Yes, if you still consent after you've had time to truly consider what you're accepting. I consent. Dr. Nexum's patterns flickered with something between relief and anxiety. Then we'll schedule the ritual for tomorrow evening. Both of you need to rest and prepare. This will be intense. As Marcus stood to leave, Varison spoke once more. Commander, thank you for treating this conversation like it mattered. Like my choice mattered. Most people just see the political necessity. Your choice is the only thing that actually matters, Princess. Everything else is just context. Her patterns brightened to warm gold, the first genuinely positive color Marcus had seen from her. Call me Varison. If we're going to share consciousness, you should probably use my actual name. Then call me Marcus. Outside the medical wing, Queen Lasara waited with Theron and Kestara. Her patterns showed tightly controlled tension. Well, she's remarkable, Marcus said, and we've both consented to attempt the bonding. The Queen's patterns flashed through relief, hope, and lingering fear before settling on determined steel. Then we have one cycle to prepare. Captain Theron will instruct you in the ritual protocols. Dr. Nexum will monitor both of you continuously. And Commander Chen? Yes, Your Majesty. Whatever happens tomorrow, thank you for giving my daughter a choice she could accept. The rest of the day blurred through preparation. Ritual protocols, meditation techniques, consciousness alignment exercises. Theron proved to be a patient instructor, walking Marcus through each step with careful precision. The bonding ritual is sacred to our people, Theron explained. It's not merely ceremony. The protocols exist to guide two consciousness through the synchronization process safely. Deviation can cause permanent damage. No pressure, then. Theron's patterns flickered to orange. You use humor to manage stress. Varison does the same. Perhaps the compatibility data knows something we don't. That evening, Marcus found himself in the palace's meditation garden. Bioluminescent flowers created shifting light patterns. He sat on a carved stone bench, trying to quiet his racing thoughts. Footsteps approached. Kestara emerged from the shadows, her patterns neutral gray. Can't sleep? She asked. Seemed premature to sleep before potentially permanently altering my consciousness. She sat beside him, unusual informality from a Valerian military officer.
I've known Varison since we were children.
We trained together, studied together, got into trouble together. She's the closest thing I have to family. I understand. I don't think you do. Not yet. Kestara's patterns shifted to deep blue. She's been alone her entire life, Marcus. Surrounded by people but fundamentally isolated. The expectations, the protocols, the constant performance, it's exhausting. She needs someone who can see past all that. Someone who won't be intimidated by her intelligence or her rank or her stubbornness. You're warning me? I'm telling you what you're actually agreeing to. Because if you succeed tomorrow, you won't just be bonding with a princess, you'll be bonding with someone who's been waiting her entire life for someone to truly see her. Kestara stood. Don't fail her, human. She's had enough of that. Marcus slept fitfully that night. When dawn came, Dr. Nexum arrived with final preparations. Neural stabilizers, consciousness alignment medication, ritual garments woven with bioluminescent threads. The ceremony begins at sunset, the doctor explained. Both of you will enter deep meditation states. Then the ritual guides will initiate the synchronization protocols. If your consciousness patterns truly align, the bond will form naturally. If they don't, he didn't finish the sentence, Varison dies. Eventually, yes. But more immediately, the rejection would cause both of you severe neurological pain. We'd have to separate your consciousness quickly to prevent permanent damage. Comforting. Ideal in medical reality, Commander, not comfort. But Dr. Nexum's patterns softened slightly. However, I genuinely believe this will work. The data is too strong to dismiss. Marcus meditated, reviewed protocols, tried to prepare for something completely outside human experience. Theron checked on him periodically, offering quiet encouragement. As sunset approached, attendants arrived to escort Marcus to the ritual chamber. The room was circular, carved from living crystal that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Complex symbols covered the floor, each one representing aspects of consciousness and connection. 12 ritual guides waited, their patterns synchronized in perfect harmony. Varison entered from the opposite door. She wore ritual garments that seemed woven from light itself. Despite her illness, she moved with grace and determination. Her eyes found Marcus across the chamber, and her patterns shifted to something warm and hopeful. They walked to the chamber's center, standing face to face within an intricate circular pattern. The ritual guides began a harmonic chant, their voices creating resonance that Marcus felt in his bones. The lead guide, an ancient Valyrian with patterns so complex Marcus couldn't track them all, spoke in ceremonial language. Theron translated quietly from his position at the chamber's edge. We gather to witness the bonding of consciousness. Princess Varison of the ancient line, Marcus Chen of Earth's humanity, two paths converging. Two patterns seeking alignment. Do you enter this freely? I do, Varison said. I do, Marcus echoed. Then let the synchronization begin. The crystal chamber began to resonate, patterns flowing through the walls in increasingly complex sequences. Marcus felt something shift in his perception, like reality tilting sideways. Clear your mind, Varison whispered. Let your consciousness settle. Don't force anything. Marcus closed his eyes, following the meditation techniques Theron had taught him. His awareness expanded, and suddenly he could feel something vast approaching. Not physical, something deeper. Varison's consciousness reaching toward his own. It was overwhelming. Complex patterns of thought and emotion, layered memories and experiences, all fundamentally alien yet somehow comprehensible. He felt her loneliness, her determination, her hope and fear tangled together. He felt her consciousness examining his own, surprised by the emotional intensity and creative chaos of human thought. The synchronization protocols guided their consciousness patterns together like two rivers merging. Marcus felt resistance, fundamental differences in how Valyrian and human minds processed reality. But beneath the differences, he found the compatibility the data had predicted. Where his patterns showed emotional depth, hers showed analytical precision. Where his thoughts moved in creative tangents, hers moved in structured elegance. They weren't identical. They were complementary. Marcus gasped as the full weight of Varison's consciousness touched his own. He felt her pain, the rejection damage that had nearly killed her, the exhaustion of fighting against her own biology. But he also felt her strength, the core of determination that had kept her alive through 53 rejections. She refused to compromise herself even at the cost of her life, and she felt him. His military discipline, his curiosity about alien cultures, his deep-rooted need to help others even when it meant personal sacrifice, his loneliness, different from hers but no less real, the feeling of never quite fitting anywhere, always caught between worlds. Their consciousness patterns aligned. Not forced, not artificial, natural, synchronization based on genuine compatibility. The bond formed like a lock clicking into place, permanent and profound. Marcus opened his eyes. Varison stood before him, her patterns blazing with brilliant light, brighter than anything he'd seen since arriving on Valyria. Her health was returning, the bond providing the neurological stability her consciousness needed, but more than that, he could feel her. Not thoughts exactly, but emotional resonance. Her joy at finally finding compatible consciousness, her relief at surviving, her cautious hope for what this might mean. And, underneath everything, a fierce determination to make this work. She could feel him too. He knew it without words, felt her awareness of his commitment to this bond, his acceptance of her completely. She smiled, and the emotional resonance amplified the expression into something beyond mere facial movement. The ritual guide's chant reached a crescendo, then stopped. Silence filled the chamber. The lead guide's pattern shifted to reverent gold. The bond is complete. Two consciousness synchronized. Princess Varison, you live. Commander Marcus Chen, you are recognized as royal consort. May your bond bring strength to both. Queen Lasara entered the chamber, her pattern showing unrestrained relief and joy. My daughter, she whispered. Varison turned, and Marcus felt her surge of love for her mother through the bond. It was profound and unconditional, all the emotion she kept controlled in public flowing freely through their connection. I'm all right, Mother. We're all right. Marcus realized he needed to adjust to that pronoun in a completely new context. The Queen embraced Varison, then turned to Marcus. You've saved her life and preserved our civilization's future. I am in your debt, Commander. We all are. I think we saved each other, Your Majesty, Marcus said. Through the bond, he felt Varison's agreement and gratitude. The following days tested the bond's strength. The Council of Elders convened to debate the unprecedented situation. Many accepted the bond gracefully, recognizing necessity and outcome. Others protested a human joining the royal family, claiming it diminished Valyrian prestige. Marcus attended the debates with Varison, learning quickly that royal politics made military combat seem straightforward. But whenever he felt overwhelmed, he could sense Varison's steady presence through the bond, her quiet strength supporting him. And when she faced particularly aggressive questioning, she could feel his calm certainty, his absolute conviction that she deserved to be exactly who she was. Councillor Trevcan, leader of the conservative faction, stood during one particularly heated session. This bond may be technically legitimate, but it's fundamentally inappropriate. A princess of Valira bonded to a human soldier with no noble lineage, no political training, no understanding of our culture's depth and complexity. What kind of precedent does this establish? Varison rose, her patterns shifting to aggressive red. Marcus felt her anger through the bond, but also her control over it. It establishes that consciousness compatibility matters more than genetic heritage. It establishes that survival requires adaptation. It establishes that I won't sacrifice myself for your comfort with tradition. Her patterns hardened to steel gray, and it establishes that I choose my own path, as is my right as heir and as an individual. Queen Lysara called for order, her crown pulsing with authority. Enough. The bond is complete and legitimate by all laws and traditions. Princess Varison lives, and our concordant position is secure. Those who cannot accept this reality may retire from the council. No one moved to leave, but Marcus saw patterns shift to grudging acceptance among several council members. Trevcan sat down defeated. After the session, Varison led Marcus to a private balcony overlooking the capital. Her patterns showed exhaustion and frustration. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I knew there would be resistance, but actually hearing them question your worth. It's understandable, Marcus said. I'm an outsider in every possible way. Change is threatening. You're being too rational about this. She turned to him, and through the bond he felt her fierce protectiveness. They have no right to judge you. They don't know you. But you do. Marcus smiled. Thanks to this bond, you know me better than anyone ever has. And you know I'm not here for prestige or power. I'm here because the data said we might be compatible, and it turned out to be right. Varison's patterns softened. The data was very right. She reached out, and this time she did touch his hand. The physical contact amplified the bond's resonance, creating a feedback loop of emotional connection. I can feel your certainty through the bond. Your absolute conviction that this was the right choice. It helps when I doubt. And I can feel your strength when I'm overwhelmed by royal protocols. We're good for each other then. Apparently, Marcus looked out at the city. What happens now? I mean, beyond council debates and political adaptation. Now we learn to live with this bond, to function as partners, not just bonded consciousness. To build something real from this beginning. Varison's patterns shifted to thoughtful purple. The ancient texts talk about bonded pairs becoming perfectly synchronized over time, moving as one, thinking as one, but I don't want that. I want us to remain distinct individuals who choose to work together. Agreed. It's unity without conformity, Jay said. Exactly. She squeezed his hand. Thank you, Marcus. For seeing me, for choosing this, for being real when everyone else performs. Through the bond, Marcus felt the depth of her gratitude tangled with hope and determination and growing affection. And she felt his response. Commitment, protectiveness, respect, and the beginnings of something deeper that neither of them was ready to name yet. In the weeks that followed, they established routines. Morning meditation to maintain bond synchronization. Combat training together, Varasin teaching Marcus Valerian, forms while he taught her human techniques. Cultural education sessions where Marcus learned royal protocols and Varasin learned human social dynamics. Evenings spent in her private garden, talking about everything and nothing, building genuine friendship beneath the bond's connection. Kestara became an unexpected ally, teaching Marcus the subtle nuances of protecting Varasin without suffocating her independence. Theron provided quiet guidance on navigating royal politics. Nexa monitored the bond's stability and marveled at how well they'd synchronized. Queen Lysara observed everything with cautious approval. One evening, she summoned Marcus to a private meeting. "Walk with me," she said. They moved through palace gardens, the queen's patterns shifting through contemplative colors. When I first proposed bringing a human candidate, half the council called me desperate. The other half called me insane, but I watched my daughter dying and knew desperate measures were necessary. I'm glad I could help, Your Majesty. We've done more than help. You've given Varasin something she's never had, a partner who sees her as a person first, princess second. The queen stopped by a luminescent fountain. She's happy, Marcus. Genuinely happy. I haven't seen her patterns this bright since she was a child. Marcus felt warmth at the observation. She makes me happy too, Your Majesty. This bond, it's shown me what I was missing without knowing it. Good. The queen's patterns hardened slightly. Because the Concordat will test this bond soon. There's a diplomatic summit in 2 cycles. You'll attend as Varasin's consort. Every species will be watching, judging, looking for any sign of weakness or incompatibility. Let them watch. Queen Lysara smiled, patterns shifting to warm orange. You're learning. That sounded almost royal. The summit arrived faster than Marcus expected. Delegates from 47 species gathered in the Concordat's central station. Marcus wore formal Valerian attire adapted for human physiology, patterns woven into the fabric through techniques he barely understood. Varasin stood beside him, radiant in ceremonial robes, her patterns complex and confident. Through the bond, Marcus felt her nervousness hidden beneath perfect composure. "Ready?" she asked quietly. Not even slightly. "You?" But we're terrified together, so at least there's that. Conversations stopped. Every eye of every species turned to observe the Valerian princess and her human consort. Marcus felt the weight of their judgment, but also felt Varasin's presence through the bond, steady and certain. The Concordat High Mediator, a towering Vrextian with 6 arms and crystalline skin, approached. "Princess Varasin, Commander Chen. The Concordat welcomes you both." "High Mediator Crone," Varasin bowed formally. "We're honored to attend." "I must confess curiosity," Crone said, his voice resonating through multiple frequencies. "A Valerian princess bonded to a human. Unprecedented. How do you find the experience?" Through the bond, Marcus felt Varasin's spike of annoyance at the intrusive question, but her patterns remained diplomatically neutral. "Profound," she said. "The compatibility data was more accurate than expected. We've discovered that consciousness connection transcends species differences." "Fascinating. And you, Commander, do you find neurological bonding with an alien consciousness comfortable?" Marcus met Crone's multifaceted eyes directly. "I find it challenging, rewarding, and absolutely right. Varasin and I complement each other in ways I didn't know were possible. If that makes the Concordat uncomfortable, that's unfortunate but unchangeable." Several nearby delegates made sounds of surprise at his directness. Crone's crystalline features shifted to what might have been amusement. Diplomatic yet honest. Perhaps there's more to human Valerian bonding potential than we anticipated. "Enjoy the summit." As Crone moved away, Varasin's patterns flickered with suppressed laughter. Through the bond, Marcus felt her delight at his blunt response. "That was either brilliant or catastrophic," she whispered. "Time will tell which." The summit proceeded smoothly. Marcus and Varasin navigated diplomatic conversations, cultural exchanges, and political maneuvering with increasing synchronization. The bond let them communicate without words, anticipate each other's responses, present a unified front despite their different origins. During a formal dinner, a Krillian ambassador approached with thinly veiled hostility. "Princess Varasin, forgive my directness, but many wonder if this arrangement is genuinely stable or merely a political convenience. Bonding failures have occurred before." Through the bond, Marcus felt Varisine's flash of anger. He touched her hand gently, sending calm reassurance through their connection. She took a breath, patterns settling from aggressive red to diplomatic blue. Ambassador Zekthar, our bond has been thoroughly verified by multiple independent medical examinations. The synchronization is complete and stable. What you call political convenience, we call survival and compatibility. Her patterns hardened. But I'm curious why you're so concerned with my personal choices. Does Krill now dictate bonding partnerships for other species? The ambassador's skin flushed with embarrassment. Of course not, Princess. I meant no offense. Then perhaps focus your diplomatic energy on matters that actually concern Krill's interests. Through the bond, Marcus felt Varisine's satisfaction as the ambassador retreated. He sent a pulse of approval and amusement, which she returned with affectionate warmth. The summit's final evening featured a cultural celebration. Each species presented traditional performances, music, art. When Vairira's turn came, Verizon surprised everyone by requesting a joint presentation. She and Marcus moved to the performance area. No music, no elaborate staging, just two people moving through combined Valyrian and human combat forms. Their movements synchronized perfectly, the bond allowing anticipation and flow that made the demonstration seem choreographed despite being improvised. The forms shifted from combat to something almost like dance. Marcus led, then Varisine led, then neither led as they moved in perfect harmony. The watching delegates fell silent, recognizing something profound in the simple demonstration of two beings from different worlds moving as one. When they finished, Varisine's patterns blazed with brilliant gold. Through the bond, Marcus felt her joy and pride in something deeper. Love, growing from respect and partnership into genuine affection. The hall erupted in applause. High Mediator Crone approached, his patterns showing impressed approval. That was remarkable. You've demonstrated compatibility more effectively than any medical data could prove. After the celebration, they found a quiet observation deck overlooking the station's docking arrays. Stars stretched in every direction, beautiful and infinite. That went better than I feared, Varisine said. You were perfect. Marcus felt her pleasure at the compliment through the bond. Diplomatic but strong, exactly what the situation required. I couldn't have managed without the bond's stability. She turned to face him fully. Marcus, I need to say something. When this started, I consented because I was dying and you represented survival. But somewhere between the bonding ritual and this moment, everything changed. Through the bond, Marcus felt her nervousness and hope, her vulnerability beneath the royal composure. It changed for me too, he said quietly. I'm falling in love with you. Genuinely, not just because of the bond or the circumstances. Because of who you are. Your honesty, your strength, your refusal to treat me like I'm fragile. Her patterns shifted to deep purple. Complete honesty. Is that acceptable? Marcus laughed softly. Is it acceptable that I'm falling in love with you? Your intelligence, your determination, your absolute refusal to compromise yourself? Yes, Varisine. It's more than acceptable. It's everything. She kissed him then, and the bond amplified the emotion until Marcus couldn't tell where his feelings ended and hers began. They were distinct but unified, individuals choosing connection. What happens now? She asked when they finally separated. Now we build a life. Together. However we want to define it. No more just survival. No more just survival. Now we actually live. Varisine's patterns blazed brighter than Marcus had ever seen. Pure joy and love and hope for the future. Through the bond, he felt his own emotions reflected and amplified, creating a feedback loop of affection that was overwhelming and perfect. They stood on the observation deck watching stars, two consciousness permanently bonded, two people choosing each other every day, two paths that had merged into something stronger than either could have been alone. Back on Valyria, the Council grudgingly accepted the bond's legitimacy. Political necessity became genuine acceptance as Varisine and Marcus proved their partnership's strength through diplomatic success and personal dedication. Kestara claimed she knew it would work from the beginning, which everyone knew was a lie, but no one challenged. Theron continued his quiet guidance. Dr. Mann. Nexum published medical papers on the bond's unprecedented success. Queen Lysara watched her daughter thrive and quietly thanked whatever cosmic forces had sent a human soldier to save her child. Marcus adapted to royal life, bringing human perspectives to Valyrian traditions, challenging assumptions, refusing to simply conform. Varasin flourished with a partner who saw her completely, supported her absolutely, and loved her unconditionally. Together they became exactly what both had needed: real, genuine, honest connection in a world that often valued performance over authenticity. The bond remained strong, growing deeper over time without erasing their individual natures. They argued, disagreed, challenged each other, but always from a foundation of love and respect. They were proof that compatibility could transcend species, that desperate measures could create unexpected beauty, that sometimes the answer to an impossible problem was something completely unprecedented. Years later, when young Valyrians asked about the human consort who had bonded with their princess, Varasin would smile and say simply, "He saved my life by seeing me completely, and I saved his by giving him a place to belong." We chose each other every day. That's all love really is, choosing each other continuously in big moments and small. And through the bond, Marcus would send a pulse of absolute agreement, love, and gratitude for the strange path that had led him to a dying princess on an alien world, and the choice that had changed everything.